Okay, so now we're going to take some time to discuss sleep hygiene. You have a worksheet that you can look at that gives you a lot of different parts. We're going to go through it one step at a time. The first thing to do is to prepare your bedroom. And what that means is make sure that you have comfortable blankets, pillows, mattresses, have very mild, pleasant smells. You want to make sure that the decorations in the room aren't too bright. So, like if you look behind me, there's a yellow. You wouldn't want that in your bedroom because it's an energizing color, whereas like the blue is a calmer color. Additionally, you might have things like trophies from sports or even sports equipment that might actually tell your body it's time to wake up because they're all behaviorally conditioned to do that. Second, as you may recall, our body starts to cool down when we go to sleep. So a cooler temperature actually encourages us to sleep. You might think about it as a little bit of a hibernating thing, but to cuddle up and get warm. Third, it is very important to stay on schedule. Identify a bedtime and a time to wake up. And then do the best that you can to stick with it and get up at that time. Also, on weekends and on holidays, don't let your sleep schedule change too much. If you let it go too far, you'll get out of whack. So, if you are laying down and you can't fall asleep, it is very common for people to just lay there for hours. If that goes to happen, don't. I encourage you to identify a sleep skill and try that one. Typically, these are things like have some tea, read a boring book, meditate, these type of things. Now, often I personally happen to spend a lot of time in hotels. The other people can be quite bothersome. And if you live in a neighborhood where it's louder, that also might be bothersome. The idea is you want a space that's as quiet as possible. Some people do better with white noise, and oftentimes if you can't get a quiet, white noise is better. So a fan may work, a machine may work. I'm particularly fond of Alexa and the Thunderstorm app. That really works for me. Another choice is you could even do one of the meditations where a person's gently talking to you, or like a very quiet story, these type of things. I remember I was in Florida recently, and my neighbor was very loud, and I actually listened to a lot of like Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra because I've heard them so many times. I can just listen and don't have to really pay attention. Okay, that said, some folks tend to be more tactile, sensitive. Different feelings affect them in different ways, and the feelings may also be affecting their mood and their memory. So you may find, myself, I prefer a cool bed where the actual material feels cool to the touch. Some people like flannel where it feels warm. Other people actually prefer to have a lot of weight on top of them, so weighted blankets may be very helpful. So as you're getting ready for bed, right, it's wise to have a sleep routine, kind of winding down about an hour ahead of time. Have all of your screens off. All your phone, your computer, your television. I would discourage you from having a computer or a television really ever in your room. And if you don't need to have your phone at your bed for emergencies, you're probably best leaving it in another room so that way you're not distracted. So, that being said, the idea is the bedroom is only for sleep and sex. And actually, if the sleep researchers were a little less prudish, they'd actually say to have your sex somewhere else. But that's not realistic for most people. All right, so that's the basic parts of it. So now things that are a little bit more particular. Exercise affects different people in different ways. Ideally, you'll get your exercise early in the day, and it'll be intense enough that it'll actually make your body tired. Now, some intense exercise in the evening can keep you from sleeping. That being said, often it's very beneficial to take a walk before bed to help your body finish digesting. One thing to know about walking is it's a very natural stress reliever. People are meant to walk. We should walk, and that's what we should do. Now, I'm a huge advocate of a worry journal, and you can use this to help you sleep. You put it by your bed. Something comes to your mind. Oh, I have to remember to do this tomorrow. I have to remember to do it. So go ahead, write it down. That's what it's there for. Also, with making any changes in your life, taking notes is very helpful about thoughts, feelings, memories, dreams that come up. Okay, so I mentioned the idea of having a sleep routine. I think back to when I lived in Alaska, and I lived in a place where there's sun all night long, and it kind of made me feel a little manicky, like I couldn't sleep, and it made me very irritable. And so I then instilled a sleep routine to really help myself. Now, what I had done at that time for myself was at 10 o'clock, I would actually go and take a hot bath with Epsom salt. The hot bath relaxes the muscles, the Epsom salt, the magnesium in it actually can be really soothing and it actually helps a lot of people sleep. I would listen or watch a quiet TV show. I'd take an hour to do it. And then when I was done, I would turn it off. I would, dry up, get myself together, brush my teeth, go into the bedroom. And when I was there, it was still light outside, and it wasn't my space, so I didn't have the opportunity to put blackout curtains. So what I did is I used to have the little eye mask from when I flew. What happened was I would put that on, right, and it smelled like me. And after a couple weeks of this, as soon as I put on the eye mask, my body knew it was time to sleep, to the point where I could actually put that on pretty much any time, and I was behaviorally conditioned to sleep with that eye mask. Another example that you hear is soldiers. They learn that if they have a moment to sleep, they should, and they can just pass out anytime. It's pretty common. So what I would encourage you to do is think about what you need to do to wind down for the night. Create a schedule, usually an hour is about the right amount of time, to minimize the amount of artificial light and to kind of think through your day and what you want to do. All right. Now, when it comes to falling asleep, oftentimes people eat late at night, and eating and digestion actually limits your body's ability to rest. So it is very important to be intentional about what you eat. Now, when you sleep, I think it's there's a protein that is known, that's in turkey, that helps people sleep. So there's certain proteins that are very helpful. Personally, I find carbohydrates make me tired, and so they would help me sleep if I couldn't sleep. And I also know they limit my deep sleep, so I can kind of negotiate that. Another piece is that a lot of people really benefit from herbal teas. Chamomile tea is known for helping people sleep. Also ones that have like cinnamon and things like that. Obviously, you're trying to avoid caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life in most people of about 3 hours. So if you think about it, an actual cup of coffee, an appropriate amount of coffee, is very small, and when we drink coffee, we tend to have multiple servings. So if you have coffee at noon, right, and you actually have the equivalent of 4 servings, at 3 you still have 2 in you, at 6 you still have 1, at 9 you have half, right? So there's still some in there. Now, it's known that some folks who may have ADHD have like a inverted experience with caffeine, and I'd have to encourage you to experiment with that yourself. Now, oftentimes people drink and then the alcohol makes them feel tired. And indeed, they do fall asleep, but they don't sleep well, and often they find themselves being much more tired the next day. And I just strongly discourage people from smoking in bed for many reasons, one of which is that it's a stimulant, so it's not really helpful. So that being said, put questions together. Feel free to shoot them to me.